luck with your journey. I'm here today to just kind of give you a little idea of what mine was, and mine was a little different because I didn't attend a specific, like a broadcast school. It would have probably helped me get off the ground a little quicker back in the day, but I went to a college at University of Michigan that admittedly is a great school, was not known for broadcasting. Many people just told me to, focus on writing, that if you can write, you can always learn the skill of being a broadcaster. Very true, by the way. Then learning the delivery and everything later and honing your skill of actually, learning intonation and rhythm and things for either radio or TV is a totally different repetition thing. It's just, you cannot learn it until you do it and keep doing it and watching other people. And yes, I was the idiot who would stand in the mirror and actually try to imitate and try to make sure I didn't look like a deer in the headlights when I've got something memorized and I'm trying to repeat it back. And there's a lot of that practice involved. But if you can write, and I mean, hilariously, they tell you you're writing to a third grade audience when you're doing sports, which doesn't say much for my career. However, you learn to bring up the level when you need to. I learned to read up and do my homework and sound knowledgeable enough to be sent out as a, 18 or 19-year-old at that time, going to cover a story and hold a microphone and ask the questions and not just hold a microphone. So that kind of started, planted the seed of how to prepare for a story. Of course, in a very small way. It also allowed me to learn how to use everything, including a camera. And nowadays, there isn't a station in any market that would allow you to learn and allow you to kind of play around with the camera. As time went on and I ended up getting my first on-air job there, I would take a camera out and shoot, and I knew nothing about shooting. So this kind of stuff obviously doesn't happen anymore. There's a lot of unions, et cetera, but working in a small market like that and really kind of at a slow time, I learned a little bit about editing, a little bit about the camera, and really in a hands-on way that unfortunately and not a lot of internships allow you to anymore. And I just went in for a tour. And as I was walking through the sports department, funny story, a couple of the guys are talking like in terms like as if I didn't understand sports. And I was like, hey, yeah, do you know Bill Wickett? And he happened to be the main assistant for the basketball team at that time. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I work for him at Sports Information. They were like, really? Do you want a job? I mean, it was really funny because they walked in and they were like explaining things in very simple terms to me. And I was just like, okay. Yeah, so you know Wickett? How do you know Bill Wickett? Yeah, I've worked for him for a couple of years. And they were like, oh. So that is how I landed my first job. It was actually an internship in the beginning. It was not, I think it was actually minimum wage. I got paid minimum wage. And my job was essentially to sit and log games for TV screens. And a couple months into that, I was sent out on my very first assignment. And it was to cover Detroit Lions training camp. Now, not just for females, but for men as well. If the first thing you're doing is going into a football locker room, it's quite an introduction. There's like 80 guys basically standing around in various states of undress. And you're kind of supposed to stand there, again, male or female, and pretend like you know what the hell you're doing, which you basically don't. And you're a little overwhelmed and you're trying to act cool, and the gentleman that was the PR director at the time was from Michigan. Hey, Michigan gal, yeah, okay. So the wide receivers and quarterbacks are over here. The offensive linemen, defensive linemen are there. And then he walks out, and I'm like, okay, yeah, what do I do here? And so I learned very quickly at that time that you basically can make or break, again, whether you're a male or a female. You have to act like you belong there, like you know what you're doing, even if you don't. And hey, this is going to be my job. So you can make or break you, definitely. And I think, in my instance, I think for females too, no wandering eyes are really allowed. And it's really hard to stand in the midst of 80 people around you everywhere. And like, what do? Look at the ceiling? Because then they'll eat you up.